Hello everybody and welcome to yet another For Honor Executions Graded. This is the series where I go through each For Honor hero, look at their unique executions, and let you guys know how good they actually are and end up giving them a full-on grade. I'm very excited to do this, guys, because today we're actually wrapping up the last heavy hero, Jiang Jun. We've gone through the Vanguards and the Assassins and we're about to finish the heavies, and after that we can move on to the hybrids. But I still want to do my best for Jiang Jun. I really want to take a look at everything that the old man has to offer. But before we get started on that, if you are brand new to this series and don't know exactly what's going on, take a look in the upper right hand corner of the screen or down in the description and you'll be led to a video called That's an Execution, wherein I give a rubric for how I grade executions, basically what I look for, my overall grading criteria. But if you are familiar somewhat with the series but just need a refresher, I'll go over it very quickly. I'm going to take a look at each of Jiang Jun's unique executions, not universal ones, and I'm going to be giving them a grade for 4 different criteria, which are lethality, how deadly is it, realism, could this be something that could actually happen in real life, efficiency, how good is it in a battlefield, is it quick, is it effective, and then cool factor, does it fit with the character's personality and is it ultimately cool to do. After I get a grade for each execution, I will then be adding them all up together, creating an overall average for the character overall. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started with Jiang Jun. Starting off with Uppward Guillotine. Oof, alright, well, the head came off, so that's a lethality of 4. If your head is removed, that means you are unquestionably dead. Now, someone did ask me, I want to clarify this, someone asked me, why would, if the execution isn't realistic or something along those lines, why would I still count it as lethal if it took off the head? And that's because the two aren't married to each other. I try to keep each part different from the other, and in this case, you know, it's obvious that the head is coming off and that would kill, but for realism I did have to give it a 3 because I don't think it would go off that easily. Think about the direction at which the guillotine is going. It's not going down allowing gravity to help it, it's actually working upward going against gravity. Now yes, Jiang Jun is kicking the bottom of the handle down, which will help in the jerk upward, but at the same time I don't think it would go that cleanly through the neck. There would be some resistance, so I gave it a 3 for realism because I guess technically if the blade is sharp enough and you hit the blade up fast enough, you could maybe do this, but I still find it very hard to believe, so that's a 3. For efficiency, I give it a 4. Now, while this isn't the fastest execution, what I like about it is he is immobilizing the person, the enemy, in this case Warden, by knocking them on the head various times. You gotta strike once, twice, stop them in the chest, and then take off the head. And one of the things that you're always concerned about in a battlefield scenario is enemies trying to interrupt you or stop you. Notice how the blade is always moving around in a circular pattern around Jiang Jun, creating an area to protect himself. So I definitely like that, so that gives us an efficiency level of 4. For cool factor, I gave it a 4 as well. This is easily one of the best executions that Jiang Jun has. I really, really like this one. It looks very stylish. It looks very cool. He takes full advantage of the reach and range of the Guandao. It is just an overall awesome execution, which gives this execution a 15 out of 16, which is a 94%. Absolutely awesome. Next up is Fei Lian. All right. Well, once again, head came off, so that's a 4 for lethality. I mean, very deadly. Now, for realism, though, I'm actually going to say that that's probably going to be a 4, and I'll tell you why. He comes up very strong, and he pivots on his feet down there. Look, notice his feet when he does this. He puts a lot of power into his hips and drives it upward, and it is a very fast strike up. He uses centrifugal force in the process, so I would be far more willing to buy that as a decapitation than the last one, wherein in the last one, he just kind of stopped it at the throat and then kicked up, so there was no centrifugal force or velocity helping it. In this case, there's a lot of velocity going from one point to the other, so I'm more willing to buy that. For efficiency, this is very fast. You've brought your opponent to their knees, you took off the head, the guy's dead. I really like that. And then for cool factor, I don't know why, man. I just love this, man. This is so perfect. I gave it a 4. I think what's so good about this one is, notice, back circle strike, forward circle strike. So he basically reverses and then goes forward again. So back step, walk forward, front step. I think that's so cool. I just love the way that's done. It shows a person who's very well trained, who's had a lot of experience in fighting. It very much fits Jiang Jun. I think it's perfect. So that is a 16 out of 16, which is a 100%. We have our first 100 with Jiang Jun. Awesome stuff. I really like this execution. Next up is Close Call. I like this one. All right. So for Close Call, for lethality, that's a 4 out of 4. If you notice where the Guandao enters, it goes right into the center of the chest. So this is hitting the heart. This is destroying the lungs. If it goes a little bit to the left or right, this person is dead. For realism, I did give it a 4. Now, my first concern was, would the Guandao be able to enter the body that easily? And my response was, maybe not as far as we see here, because we see the tip of the Guandao go out the back of the body, and I'm not sure it would go that deep in. But you'll notice that one thing that he does is, even though he strikes it with one hand, he goes down on one knee to use more of his body mass to drive forward the strike, which I will say, it definitely helps in going in, so I'll give it a 4 for that. For efficiency, though, I do have to give it a 2. The stop to laugh and the initial miss, instead of following up, like he misses here, they both stop to laugh, and they should have, he should have followed through. He should have finished it off. On a battlefield, this is a waste of time, and you can't afford that, so that is a 2 for efficiency. But for cool factor, I gave it a 4. This execution is one of the funniest in the game. I think it is absolutely awesome. It fits very well. I really, really like it. Very comical. I'm not a big fan of a lot of comical executions, but this one really gets me. I just love the look between the two. Oh, yeah, that will happen. It's what? And then he's dead. I love it. So that is a 14 out of 16, which is an 88%. Next up is Keep Your Stance Wide. Ooh, okay, well, for lethality, I'm going to give this one a 3. Okay, so a lot of people miss this in the execution, but right there, right in that moment, he swung it around and struck at the neck. That is the lethal blow, when he strikes at the neck. The problem is, I don't see how deep the penetration is, and I don't see the exact placement on the neck. It's very possible that he hit the jugular or the aorta and caused massive bleed out very quickly, but it's hard to tell from here. We just get an initial strike and then no more blood or anything like that, so it's very hard to tell how deep he went. If he hit the jugular or the aorta, yeah, this will kill. This man is dead. But we can't tell for sure. All I can do is assume, and since I have to assume, I have to give it a 3. So that punch right there wouldn't kill. Like that's not a deadly punch. We have to assume that the strike to the neck here was the death blow, and it's just too hard to tell. So I gave it a 3. For realism, I gave it a 3 as well. For the punch this time. Now, the idea here is he's going down into a horse stance. He's dropping down, making his stance wide, bending his knee, and then doing a solid punch. This would probably knock a person over, but it wouldn't send them that far. It wouldn't launch them like that. I doubt it. I've got to give that a 3 for realism. For efficiency, it's a 4. It's very quick, takes care of the problem very fast, and he goes into a legit stance, the horse stance. So I'll give it a 4 for efficiency. But for cool factor, I give it a 2. This one doesn't impress me nearly as much. It's fine. It's a quick execution, which sometimes you need with a slow guy like Jiang Jun. But, it doesn't wow me the way I think it should. So that gives this one a 12 out of 16, which is a 75%. Next up is Slammed Head. All right, so judging from the placement of the Guandao's strike at the end, he is cutting through the back and the stomach, and considering the side of the body, let's see it again. All right, he probably hit the back there, might have hit the spine, but he also got it on the body's right-hand side, which means he will probably be hitting the liver, the gallbladder, maybe even a lung if it's a little higher than it looks. Yeah, that would probably hit some vital organs. I'm going to say that that's a 4 for lethality. Not only does he strike the top of the head, which is going to maybe cause a concussion or cause delirium, he then hits the chin with an upward strike and then strikes through the back, through the side. He's hitting a lot of stuff there, so I'm going to give that a 4 for lethality. For realism, I also gave it a 4. You could do this. This is something legit you could do with a Guandao. I also like that he sinks down to his knee here. I like the fact that he does that. He uses his full body in the movement. This is really good martial arts technique here. For efficiency, I gave it a 4. I like the fact that he struck the head, causing delirium, struck the face, and then struck down. I think that's excellent. So that's a 4 for efficiency. For cool factor, I gave it a 3. While I do like this execution, I really do, there's something about it that I think is missing. I'll be honest here, you know what would have been funny to me, like personally, when he knocks the head up so that his head is kind of jerked upward, what if he straight up decapitated? I know that I always get on decapitations, but in this case, with the Guandao is capable of decapitations. I think that would have been a very good decapitation. So I actually think that would have made a lot more sense. But he didn't. He just struck the side, which I still think would be lethal, but not quite as cool. So that gives this one a 15 out of 16, which is a 94%. Next is Ember Management. Oh, boy. Okay, so that's a massive explosion that took out the warden. If the explosion was right under him and it had the concussive force and burning capability, this person would die. So that's a 4 for 4 for lethality. This person would die from the flames, from the smoke, and from the explosion. So 3 ways to kill. But for realism, I have to give it a 0 for one very clear reason. It looks like he has poured oil on the ground and then threw it onto Warden. So hit Warden with it, so now he's covered in oil, then lights the oil with his Guandao. Now here's the thing. Sliding the blade along the ground to cause a spark to light the oil, it's hard to pull that off. That's not something easily done, but it's not impossible, so that's not the reason it gets a bad realism score. It's because of the explosion. Oil doesn't work like that. You would need a large amount of oil poured into one specific point, or you'd need some kind of powder. Oil is not the kind of thing that will just explode like that, especially when you see first the oil just lights on fire. If this was an explosive substance, the ground would have exploded, not just causing fire. So what should have happened here is the fire should have reached Warden and lit him on fire. He should have been lit on fire. There should not have been an explosion. So they did not treat the oil the way it's supposed to be treated. That's the problem here. So because of that, it gets a poor realism score because the oil acted in contrast to what oil is supposed to do and what it's shown to do. It's shown to just burn, not explode. So sorry there. For efficiency, that's a 1, I'm afraid. Standing on one leg to pour this oil and then crash it into him, that's poor efficiency. For one thing, what you're doing is you're not getting the job done quickly. And you're also wasting oil on just a fancy execution when you could use this oil to create a barrier on the battlefield to keep people at bay. Sorry, this one does not work. This is not as good as I'd like it to be. So this is a poor efficiency score. This is an efficiency score of 1. For cool factor, despite all my problems with it, I do have to give it a 3. It's a pretty decent execution. It's enjoyable. It's funny. I like just this bop, bop, and then pour, strike, and then this spin backwards to light it on fire. That's pretty cool. And I like how he turns his head away, like a reference to cool guys don't look at explosions, you know, that kind of thing. So I'll give it that, but otherwise, this one's not as great. This is an 8 out of 16, which is a 50%. Sorry, guys, this one is funny to me, but it's just not it. It's just not it. Next is Sifu's Punishment. Now this one's flashy. This one's very flashy, so I like this one. Well, we have the head coming off, so that's a 4 for lethality right there. For realism, I'm gonna give it a 3. I mean, on a technical sense, you could do this. On a technical sense, but the stars need to align for this to work. So let me break down the first part. So strike, drop on the foot, lift up, strike to the head, and then catch it after it bounces off the head. I mean, I hope it bounces well enough that you can catch it. The fact that you bounce it on your foot is pretty impressive. And then all of that followed up into a decapitation. Now, the decapitation doesn't bother me too much. Again, like I said, the Guandao is a decapitating tool. If you get the right velocity and force with that weapon, you could take off the head. It's been documented to be able to do it. But yeah, too much about this just needs to happen just right for it to work. So I give it a 3 for realism. Efficiency, I gave it a 2. Takes too long, and you also drop your weapon on your foot. Not a good thing to do. Never a good thing to do to let your weapon go. You should have your weapon in hand at all times. Don't put it on your foot, because if you mess this up and you drop your weapon, who's the one in trouble? You are. But for cool factor, I gave it a 4. I love this one. It just shows absolute domination. It shows experience. It shows kind of a cocky flair that comes with a guy who's been in a lot of wars. So this definitely fits our boy Jiang Jun. So I give this one a 13 out of 16, which is an 81%. Next up is Stay Down. All right. Well, for lethality starting off, I'm going to give it a 3. Because again, the striking... Okay, so Jiang Jun strikes the Warden 3 times overall. And only one of them could I see as lethal. Let me show you which one. So first, we have a strike to the legs. Then a strike upward into the chest, and then finally a strike into the back of the head. The strike into the chest is the part that I think could be lethal. The problem is, kind of like with widen your stance, I can't tell how deep the slash is or what it's hitting. If it's really deep and cutting through the chest, then yeah, this could kill. But if it's not that deep, if it's shallow, it could be just a flesh wound that you live through. And I can't tell. I really can't tell. The blood is on the stomach area, so maybe he only struck the stomach and it's deep in the stomach. But if that's the case, how deep did it go? Did it cut through the entrails? Did it cut through the intestines, the stomach? What all did it cut through? Like, it's really hard to tell. It could kill, but I can't say for sure, so I give it a 3. For realism, I give it a 4. Actually, what I really like about this execution is the setup. Strike to the leg to knock off balance. Strike the chest, strike the back of the head, and then flip. I think that's very well done. I think that's very funny and very cool. I like that. For efficiency, though, I do have to give it a 1. After he brings him to the ground, he should have left him there. But then he kind of sits there and taunts him a little bit. Like, he reads up and says, no, go to sleep. Go to sleep now. Night-night. You know, that kind of thing. Like, you did a good job. Now go to bed. Takes too long. Efficiency-wise, that's a 1. For cool factor, though, I gave it a 4. I love that bit where it's like, no, you stop it. You stay down. You stay where you are. You know, man. Like, it almost feels like a grandpa telling his kid to go back to sleep. Just like knocks him down. Like, Grandpa, tell me a story. No, you had your story. Go to sleep now, little monster. Go to sleep now. Yes, there you go. I just think that's funny. So that gives this one a 12 out of 16, which is a 75%. Next is Fly Swatter. Okay. All right. So for lethality, let's get this out of the way. I will say that's a 4 for lethality. The Guandao has gone clean through the center mass of the body. You're cutting through what looks like the heart, probably, maybe a lung. This is in a lethal spot, so that's a 4 for lethality. For realism, it's a 3, and I'll tell you why. Warden impales himself on the blade. Now, here's the thing. Is it possible to impale yourself on a blade? Yes, it absolutely is. But he'd have to be running pretty damn hard for him to just charge into a blade that is not even moving. If the Jiang Jun were thrusting it forward, if he were shoving it forward, then I could buy this. But he's just standing there. And Warden isn't running with enough force that I think he'd just sink all the way through it like that. I think what would happen is it would get part way through, like it would go a little bit in, and then he'd jump back in pain. Because right now, like, he's not entirely out of focus. Yes, he's a little delirious. Yes, he's a little wobbly, but he's just not going to run headlong and just impale himself. That's just not going to happen. I don't see that happening. However, and with that said, because he's wobbly, and because I do believe he could make the mistake of just ramming himself onto the blade, I'll give it a 3 instead of a 2. Lark and I discussed that. We both agreed that 3 would probably be okay. But for efficiency, we also agreed that 1 is the score for efficiency. 1 is what we're going to give it. Takes too long, and also there's the fact that Jiang Jun keeps facing away from Warden. Like, look at this. Just look, I get it. He's skilled. He's got experience, but that's never a good idea in warfare. Don't turn your back on your enemy, even if you are certain that you can block him. It's not a good idea. It means it shows cockiness for sure, but it also is a dangerous choice to make. So, sorry there. That's a 1 for efficiency. And then for cool factor, I gave it a 3. It's cool. It's fine. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. I do kind of like this shake of his head, like, oh, you're pathetic, and then shoves him off. But at the same time, Jiang Jun doesn't do much. He just bop, 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 bop. and then Warden kills himself. It's one of those things where it's almost like, did Jiang Jun do anything, or did Warden just kill himself? You know, it's one of those things. So that gives this one an 11 out of 16, which is a 69%. Giggity. Next up is Backhand Spiral. Well, the head came off, so that's a 4 for lethality. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. For realism, I'll give it a 4. Once again, I will say it. The Guandao is a head remover. It can do this. And the buildup of force, the jump, the spin, that's fine. I think this is just fine. I am totally fine with that. I also like the fact that, you know, with the Guandao, it's a polearm. And so you're building up even more centrifugal force. It's got that wider reach. I really like that. I just really like the way this is handled. And I like the fact that he strikes the back and then into the neck. Perfect. I really, really like that. For efficiency, I'm gonna give it a 3. And for one reason, this is a very fast execution, but for one reason. He turns his back again. He turns his back on his opponent. And I know that it's quick, but you should never, ever do that. You should not turn your back on your opponent. I know in all the Kung Fu movies, it's cool, that backhand hit, but I'm sorry, I think that hurts him a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, he didn't need to either. Think about it. He could have struck the neck, kicked him, and then done the spin. You know, he didn't need to do all that yet. So, sorry, I just have a problem with that. For cool factor, I gave it a 3. It's a bare bones basic execution. It works for what it is. I just feel like it's what I'd expect from Guan Yu. I think the best way to look at an execution in terms of cool factor is, if it's a 3, then it's good, but it's something I totally expected. It's not anything that blows my mind. But for a 4, it has to be something like, whoa, that was really good, or whoa, that was really funny, or whoa, that blew my mind, you know, that kind of thing. In this case, it's kind of like, yeah, I saw this coming. It's very much what I'd expect for a Jiang Jun. It's very much what I thought we would get. So, yeah, it works fine. So that gives this one a 14 out of 16, which is an 88%. And then finally, the Windmill Stab. All right, so once again, we have a stab into the center mass. It's stabbing deep into the intestines and out the back. That's a 4 for lethality. He won't die instantly. This won't be an immediate kill, but it won't take long, probably a few minutes at best. Massive bleed out, sepsis will set in. This person is going to go into shock very quickly and then die. Especially when you consider that the blade went through the back, so he's going to be bleeding out both ends, so yeah. For realism, I gave it a 4. Now, here's what happens. When he strikes the chin and then stabs inwards, you'll notice that he uses his stance to help drive home the blade. Now, do I think he maybe inserted it a little too easily? Maybe. Just maybe it was a little too easily. But with the usage of the stance and then the way he pulls back out into the stance, I think that's going to help him get it in and out a little bit easier. His hold could be a little bit better. I'll give him that. For efficiency, I give it a 4. Very fast. Again, the spinning of the blade to create an area of effect. Pulls out quickly, stays in his stance. He's done with the fight. Very quick. I like that. For cool factor, I again give it a 3. Very much kind of what I expected. And I will give it this. I like the fact that he's using it as a polearm rather than just an axe. He's using it to stab as well as slash, which I think is good. So I will give it a 3 for cool factor. It's nothing fantastic. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's still pretty good and it's pretty solid. Kind of what I'd expect from an old war veteran like Jiang Jun. So that gives this execution a 15 out of 16, which is another 94%. All right, folks, we're done. We've gone through all of Jiang Jun's unique executions, all 11 of them. And I gotta say, they kind of impressed me. So what did I do? Well, immediately I took all 11 scores, I added them up, divided by 11 to get the average, and we get, wait for it, 83%. We got an 83%. Not bad at all, given what I was expecting. Here's the thing. What I liked about Jiang Jun was almost all of his executions were very, very lethal. And for the most part, he got decent scores in just about every category. What hurt him, though, was a few efficiency scores because he took a little too long with some. He turned his back on the enemy in a few. Here's the thing. Jiang Jun understands cockiness. He's a little cocky because, you know, he's lived through a lot of combat. He's seen a lot of wars, and he knows how to fight. He's very good at it. He's seen a lot of the world and he knows what he's doing. The problem is sometimes his cockiness turns into over-arrogance, which I don't think helps him in the long run. He takes too long with some executions. He turns his back on his enemies to show off how good he is. And while that can be very flashy and cool to look at, it's not something that a smart person should do on a battlefield. So his efficiency took some hits. His realism, for the most part, was fine, except for a few odd moments, especially the one with the fire flask, which I don't really blame Jiang Jun so much as I do the creators, because it's not how oil necessarily works. In order for there to be an explosion, what he would need to do is maybe have Warden hold the bottle, and then have the oil draw up into the bottle or something, and then it might explode. But just splashing him, what's going to happen is he's going to light on fire. He's not going to explode. But hey, you know what? That's neither here nor there. That's not a big deal. I really liked looking at Jiang Jun's executions. They were very fun, and I'm very excited to finally wrap up the heavy heroes in For Honor. What about you guys? Did you guys enjoy this video? Do you think that Jiang Jun got the score he deserved? Do you think it's a little too low, a little too high? What do you think, guys? Let me know respectfully down in the comments section. And guys, we're moving on to the hybrids. We got a lot to look at, so I'll be releasing a poll soon to find out which hybrid to take a look at first. Don't forget to like and comment on the video. Feel free to donate and help out the channel by going to Teespring. We do have a limited time Easter t-shirt that's on sale right now, available in black and white colors and other colors besides, but you know, with the logo and all that. And also, I have a Patreon so that you can donate there up to $1 a month. Any donation is very much appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.